What is up, my loves? Welcome back to another episode of the Fully Alive podcast. My name is Stephanie Ellsperman. I am your host today, and I am joined by one of my dearest, most incredible friends. You know her, you love her. Laura Patricia Martin is on the podcast today for Unplugged, which is a segment that we both do. We actually share on both of our podcasts. Mine is the Fully Alive podcast, and hers is Healing to Happy. And this is really where we have just a girl chat. We sit down, we get goofy, we get silly, we get real, we get raw, we get emotional, we get savage, we get all of the things on this podcast. And this was really stemmed from the fact that Laura and I, we're the type of girls. We're the type of gals. We chat about once a day. And we started to recognize through our FaceTimes where we were like, holy shoot, these should be podcast episodes, through the different stories that we are sharing from our own awarenesses and what we're learning being entrepreneurs and high performers and being on purpose in this life, and also just from how absolutely hilarious we think we are when we're together. So we're letting you in on those conversations. And in this episode specifically, we are diving into all things preparing for what you pray for. So if you've been on the podcast before, you know that I have labeled this prep season, where we are preparing your life, your habits, your identity for all of the success that you know you are destined for in 2024. Whether it's in your career, in your business, or overall just in your relationships and your life. And Laura has been in the season of what she calls the pre-housewife era, where she is preparing everything on the back end to be able to have babies and have a family and really receive the relationship that she has always desired. And the same is true for her audience as well. So we are coming together and really just giving you the behind the scenes on what that actually looks like to prepare for what you pray for, our own personal experiences and how we have felt throughout the entire process, and also how to balance being savage and having structure and really going after your goals, but also still living a soft life, because that is something that both her and I really share in common. Is we have this incredible drive and this discipline to get shit done, and we both have big purposes in this world. We're here to create a massive impact. And at the same time, there's this beautiful desire within the feminine to soften into life, to really move slowly, and to have a family, hopefully one day, and prioritize relationships and living and just being fully filled up by the state of life itself. So we talk all things. I encourage you to grab your cacao, your matcha, your poppy. I've been on a poppy kick lately. Oh my gosh, it's so freaking good. Not sponsored. Grab whatever it is that you desire, and we are going to dive into this girl chat. I'll see you there. Now tell me about your tattoo.
Okay, so last night, so I'm in this like season, like Steph FaceTimed me as I was getting ready because our timings were off for when we were recording this. And I was like, I'm still sweaty and half naked. I'm in this season of like, God's calling me to go bigger. And this happens. Like, I'll go through something, my heart will like have a little bit of a crack, so it can be cracked open a little bit more. And I just like have to turn everything off, like turn off my phone, turn off my team, turn off just like everything, and like let God come in. And the thing that's been coming fresh in this, we are about to fucking up level, and I'm like, oh, I just wanted to make babies. Like, that's all I wanted to do right now. And God's like, joke's on you, cute little kitten. And the thing that I feel like all my exes will say and like my friends will say is just like, that makes sense. Like, when you hit that number, when this happens, when you find this type of person that you're going to marry, like everyone around me, because everyone has always reflected back my power. And I feel like right now I'm actually truly feeling it, that people will say that makes sense. So I want to get in quotes and script, that makes sense, tattooed on my arm.
I love that so much.
I didn't look up his word. I was like, yeah, we're going to go do it.
That makes so much sense.
That makes sense. It's just like, that makes sense.
And I honestly feel like that's so in alignment with prep season, because everything that I talk about and why we're preparing things is so that when they do happen, when you do hit the month, when you are in the relationship, when your life does look like your vision board, it's not like, oh my God, no way, I can't believe that this happened. Like, what do I do? Which then kind of sets you up to fumble the ball. But oh yeah, of course, that makes sense. Like, I've been preparing for this. Like, my actions and my habits have already been in alignment with this 8 months ago before it even happened. So like, of course that makes sense. Of course.
Exactly.
Like, I'm so here and I'm ready to hold it and I'm ready to expand it and up level it moving forward, which is cool. So I love that it's a very on brand tattoo. I didn't know this.
It's just like, because I thought of it last night. No. this morning, maybe, or last night. I can't remember. It's been an ayahuasca journey. But yeah, I was just like, cool. Wrote it in all caps. And I was like, that seems like a good tattoo. Let's go get a tattoo tomorrow. And yep, that's it.
I wish I were there. Are you going to get it?
I don't know. I
Yourself?
passed on the way to the, yeah. I'm kind of going to go, because today is like, after I finish this, I'm turning off my phone again. Like, my phone has just been off so that I'm like not distracted, not scrolling. Like, I've been scrolling so much lately that I felt like I was numbing out. But what I'm seeing is I'm currently at the stage of my life that I wanted 3 months ago. Like, I'm here and I'm like scrolling, and now I'm seeing like, oh, I want this. And it started to feel like this like inadequacy. But now I'm seeing like, no, that's just what's next. And so now that I've been inspired versus inadequate, I'm like, no, I'm fucking inspired. Like, that's what I fucking want. I want to turn off. So it's like, who do I now have to become in order to get that? And what do I have to prepare for? And what do I have to do? And all these kind of things. So that's what my next 24 hours is going to be.
I love that so much. And you know what's so wild is, of course, we've been on very similar wavelengths, where the other night I was up. Like, you know when you're going to sleep and you just have those thoughts, those fucking thoughts. And like, Nolan's like just conked out. Like, men can just turn off, go to sleep. I love that about them. Not me. No, I'm sitting there and I am like, I just had these thoughts that were going through my brain, and these fears and the inadequacies and like those little things that happen when you're on that edge of that up level where your ego tempts you and is like, oh, well, what about this one? Are you going to play small because of this one? And I had this moment, it was on the full moon, where I felt this power come over me and was like, every single one of your fears is space for breakthrough. And all of a sudden, I felt my entire body open, like my heart open. I fell asleep like a baby right after that. I had the best fucking dreams, because there was like, oh my God, wait, all of those things that you're freaking out about because you feel like they're showing you that you're inadequate or whatever the fuck, they're all actually spaces where God is asking you to step up and to step forward. And if you can see it as that, like, that's your ticket to breakthrough. And it was the breakthrough itself. And I was like, oh, so let's fucking go. You know?
I'm going to cry.
I love you.
I love that. What is the breakthrough? Like, what is that? What are you stepping into?
I feel like what I'm stepping into is that, I'll say, is seeing the fear as the breakthrough, which I think we can all say in personal growth is a thing. But I know for me, there have been sneaky ways that my ego can come in and feed me these little thoughts as if they're truth, because a high performer mind is like, of course that's truth, because here's the evidence to be able to back it up, and etc. And recognizing that anytime I feel contraction, it's like, no, God is literally pointing me there. There is another 50% side that I can see of that. So every single fear that I think I see that I can't see through, or every single challenge that I have, and I use this in business, like if there's a challenge you're coming up against and you're only seeing the challenge, there's another side. There's another 50% that is the solution. There's another 50% that is the up level instead of the fear, you know? And so that in and of itself was the breakthrough, that perspective shift. And I think it mirrors back like the internal breakthrough that I feel like I'm having within my own life, was just actually feeling my own power, like feeling who I am and grounding it, and then owning it and bringing it to the world as light. Because I think, you know, you and I talk about this. One of the stories that I've walked through a lot in my life is being too much. Like taking up too much space, being too like don't shine too bright, essentially. Like, don't talk to too many people, don't make too many connections, don't outshine, don't, just stop, you know? Don't be selfish. It was like a huge one. Like, you're being selfish by, and looking back in retrospect, it was really just me owning who I was and what I wanted in this world and not being afraid to say it. You know, like growing up, that was so me. And I feel like that's led me to deflect a lot of the natural innate gifts that I have in my life, you know, and to not actually own my own power, thinking that that's what's actually going to keep me safe, thinking that that's what's going to make me appear likable to other people. When in reality, it's like the more that I own my bigness, the more that I actually feel into my own power, and own that, and then amplify it and amplify it through my self-expression, through how I speak, through the standard that I hold for my life, through who I am and how I operate and the systems I set up, all of that, like it creates the lighthouse effect that to me, that's part of the purpose, is for us to
Mhm.
amplify who we are so that other people can find us as well.
Yeah.
So long-winded answer, but we're
No,
owning what we got.
I love it because it's something that we've been talking about a lot. It's the, am I too much? Am I too much to love?
Mm-hmm.
Am I too much to show up in this space? Am I too much for my family and my parents? Because we've been told that. Because I think it's so cute. Two people that are too much, they come together and it's like all of a sudden we're not too much anymore. Like it's like this makes sense. Like it's just like, oh my God, I love you so much. Let's be fucking weird. Like let's actually run retreats and do wild things and just put people on stages. This seems like a good fucking idea. And I think that's like it, it's different because I wouldn't qualify that. I know a big thing in our industry is like the misfits, the outcasts, the things like that.
Right.
It's like there's another side of it where it's like it's not necessarily the misfits. It's the we've been told to be quieter so that we can belong because we don't want to make the other kids jealous or we don't want to
Yes.
like the other kids. It's like you'll get in trouble if you do that. You can't be too big. You're supposed to be seen but not heard. And it's like that reclamation of like, I want to be seen and heard in a way that is with the big heart, right? It's not from the egoic, someone look at me, I'm taking up space and looking how to get
Yes.
ahead and use you all inside of my little scheme that we often think of with people that are leading. But leaders, and it's, you know, something I've been sitting with is like collectively women and men that take up a fuck ton of space but have a grounded heart. And you
Yes.
are too much. You said this to me, and I think your mom says it to you, but like I say it to myself every day now, truly, where it's like, you aren't too much, but like you are a lot, but you're never too much. And like you said that, and I was like, that just, I don't know why, like it cracked me open in this season where I'm like, what
I
if
love
you
that.
are just, you accept the fact that you're a lot? Like you're just like, I am, you know, and I enter a room and you fucking know I'm there and I speak like this and I know I'm the shit, but that doesn't mean I'm better than you. I just have this type
Yes.
of confidence because this is who I naturally am versus people that are like, I want to hold a room like that and I want to do these things. And it's like, some people
Mm-hmm.
aren't, and I was saying this to you where it's like some people actually don't want that. Like some people do want to be behind the scenes, some people want. And then I was journaling the other day on what if this isn't bad, the other day, last night, what if this wasn't bad, God gave this to you. Like a lot of people don't want that, so why do we keep
Exactly.
making it wrong? Because we do. And instead of seeing
Exactly.
it as a bad thing, seeing it as a gift from God and going, actually, how can you guide me to turn this up and connect me with the right people that want to
Yes.
hype me up, turn this up, like be in spaces like this? Because I think we're shamed on this right now, where it's like, you're not supposed to have hustle. You're not supposed to have this energy. You're not supposed to have these things. You're supposed to be soft, quiet, all the kind of things. And it's like, didn't we just spend like decades trying to break that for women? Like, why do I have to do that? Like, I don't want to be in high
Mm-hmm.
school anymore. I want to create a new pathway and open that up.
Mm.
So
I
I
love
feel
it.
done.
You know what's coming to me is a lot of what I was told, and this is, how I see our genius is that at some point your greatest asset will also be your greatest downfall. So it's the double-edged sword constantly, So the asset of being a lot and taking up space is that sometimes it can become egoic and you forget to create space for other people, right? But that's not the heart-centered version. The heart-centered version is I take up space, and as I take up more space, God shows me the path to bring you along with me. God shows me the path to illuminate you even more, where it's like, what if? And the thought that came to me was one of the shadow sides that has been brought to my attention very blatantly throughout my childhood was like steamrolling. So, like, when you're in a conversation, and especially because growing up, I always knew what I wanted and I knew how to be able to communicate to get to that place, maybe not always perfectly or eloquently, very humanly, but I knew what I wanted. And um and for some people in my family that was a little bit triggering as it is. And so I would be fed the thought of like, oh, you're steamrolling in this situation, right? Like you are bulldozing somebody else. And sometimes that can happen. However, I noticed that even after doing the personal growth work to recognize the shadow, to make space for other people, like all of these beautiful things, there was still that fear to take up space out of fear that I'm going to steamroll somebody else, because that's not in my nature. My nature is to be able to illuminate everyone who's around me. I mean, hello, we're both projectors. Like that's what we do. We see
Mhm.
people. Right. But like, if I take up space, am I going to be bulldozing somebody? Am I going to steamroll them so that they don't have space? And I started to recognize this fear literally last night. And I was like, whoa, what if I could stand up to that own fear within myself and say that taking up space is different than steamrolling, is different than bulldozing, is different than, you know, not allowing space for other people to come in. Taking up space is actually the avenue for more people to come in. Taking up space, like, what if you could just be in all of your own energy and say, yeah, you know what, I am going to go connect with that person. Yes, I am going to speak confidently. Yes, I am going to own what I do and my genius, because I know that deep down. And let's just get tired of this entire dance of like, well, like, no, but like, maybe I'm not that, like, maybe not, you know, maybe it's just a fluke, and own it. And then God shows you the avenue to bring everybody else up on stage with you.
I love that.
You know,
And
like going first.
I love that. And it's a permission slip to others. And I know that's a huge thing for you, where it's like, thank you for giving me space. It's like, bitch, take it up. Like, fucking take up that space. I'm like, I do it all the time. Like, I'm like, someone take it up. I'm here to happy and give it. And you know, I'm seeing this a lot in my own like line of work and my own life, is like, when it comes to that masculine hustle and that quote unquote masculine versus like, it's actually just being a high performer and having that drive and having that things. And because this whole feminine movement of like, no, you're supposed to be like, slow down, and you're dysregulated if you're hustling that much, and you shouldn't want to work 16-hour days, and you shouldn't be doing these things, and blah blah blah, like all these things. And because of that, I have felt too much, right? Not, I've been bulldozing my life, not bulldozing necessarily other people, but it's just like bulldozing life and seeing that as like a bad thing, versus what if you're just passionate as fuck about something, and it's not actually bad that you're a high performer and you have this vision on your heart. And at least for me, that I am this type of person. And then I was listening like these podcasts with like men talking about this. They're like, that internal urgency, I think a lot of us lack. And like, especially those of us that have been through like big T fucking trauma, there's this type of urgency you can't even MacGyver up. Like, you can't make it for someone else. And I think that's something that I am finally coming to terms with, as opposed to my trauma being a bad thing that gives me this internal urgency that then I have to go fix because I'm supposed to be soft and feminine, because that's the fucking wave right now. And I can't be loved if I'm fucking not doing these, like, relaxing all day. It's like, I have a story, and instead of shaming that story for making me a high achiever, it's like, if I just fucking use that, I have a gift of an internal urgency that no one around me will understand, because it's my story and I've witnessed things that no female should ever fucking go through. And it's one of those things that, like, that's also not a bad thing. Like, now I have this mission on my heart, and someone somewhere in the world, people like you, are going to be able to love that. Is everyone going to get it? No, absolutely the fuck not. There's going to be a lot of no's, but can I prepare myself? Can I put these things in place? Because I have an internal urgency of creating big impact now, so that later I can rest when I have kids and I have the thing. But like, right now, I don't have the ties that are like, oh, that's too much. I'm like, yeah, that would be too much if I had a family, if I had a man, if I had these things. I don't fucking have it right now. So why don't I prepare for that fucking season? And instead of shaming the fact that I am a high achiever and I have shit to do, and I can walk in a room and fucking create funnels and do these kind of things and stand on stages with a whip of a hat and like do these, why is that a bad thing that I can easily take up space? Right. And then going back to same thing, it's like, because people have said it's selfish, because you shouldn't be this loud, you shouldn't do these things. And it's like, in what room though? Like, what room are you in that's telling you that? Because people, what I'm learning now is the people that are too much, they're like, go off, girl, like fucking run it. Like, it's one of those things. And I think for the longest time, people that feel that way, you're just in the wrong room. And it doesn't mean the room that we shame them and we have to tell them about their trauma and all the things. And like, I should be able to be me. No, you love them, and then shift the room that you're in and watch your too muchness become, honestly, not enough. Like, it's like, and then you're in the conundrum again. Like, it's just,
you're just in the baby stages of it, you know, where you recognize like, oh shit, there's other people who are also a lot and they're owning it in X, Y, and Z way. Okay, time to go. You know, like, time to go.
That's what I was finding in my scrolls, where I was like, look at these people taking up their fucking space. And then I'm like, I'm not friends with them. I don't know. And then I was like, wait, who do I become to become friends with them? Like, we get louder, baby. We do more. It's just one of those, like, here's your hall pass, be a lot. Like, and prepare for it. Like, prepare for that bigness, because that is a gift that a lot of people don't have. Like, they don't have that urgency. They want, like, they're okay being not mediocre, but just they're okay with where they're at. And I think people like us, it's just this, like, it's a fucking gift. It really is a gift.
It's purpose.
Have this, yeah. It's the urgency of that purpose that you cannot replicate. Like, it's not something that, like, you can be inspired by people on the internet, and there's a lot of people that take courses and don't do shit and blah blah blah, but like, for people that have that fire, it's like it's a gift. It's from God. It truly is. And so how do you then build that up? And I think that's where we're both at, of just like, we have this thing and we are too much and we are a lot, and it's those kind of things. And so how now do you put things in place so you can have a both and life, because you can't just be far in one. And I think that's what we have learned in our lifetimes, of like, okay, you can be too much and bulldoze and be selfish and forget other people exist and want everything your way. And then we go the whole feminine route, and then we're like, okay, but that's not my purpose necessarily. Like, there's something missing, there's a fire. And I think both of us, what we are kind of navigating now since New Year's Eve is like, well, then how do we create the structure, systems, and things in place so that we can have a both and journey in this?
I'm gonna sneeze.
Oh no. It's coming through.
So you know it's good.
It's coming.
It left. Okay. But you know, the thing that connects all of this, I don't know if we've ever talked about this. I call it your purpose code.
Ooh, tell me more.
So your purpose code. So typically how I talk about purpose is there's 3 levels of purpose, right? There is the overarching purpose as human beings. What are we here to do? Then there is the mid-level purpose, which is your personal purpose, right? This is what I call your purpose code, which is made up of your past experiences, your passions, your vision, your values, and your mission all together to give you this picture of who you are and what you're here to do. And the key part in all of that is your past experiences. Like, what has God given you in this lifetime that has changed who you are and how you operate, such that that is your gift to bring to the world, right? So when you talk about trauma, you know, I think that anyone who's ever done anything great typically has seen some shit in their lifetime, right? That's what makes us connect on some level. And maybe you haven't, and that's a beautiful thing as well, right? But those experiences are the things that shape you into actually having purpose in this world, because nobody can replicate those experiences. God could never recreate the exact same concoction of your experiences, your vision, your mission, right? Your passions and what you're interested in and your skill set that you've had through your experiences. You could never recreate it, which is why every single person has their own unique and very distinct purpose code that they bring into this world. And when we actually hone in on that, rather than feeling like we need to be more feminine, feeling like we need to be more masculine, feeling like we need to be more than we already are, and just get clear on what is your genius, your purpose code, that's, to me, is the key to unlocking just being who you are and letting that be the place that you serve from, rather than who you feel like you must be or how you need to shift in order to be in that space.
I love that.
Fun little thing.
I love
and the
that.
third,
I didn't know that.
The third level of purpose, to tie it all up, is your daily purpose, which is making decisions with intention.
And I love that. I didn't know that was your thing, or a thing that you teach. I love that.
Yeah, we got to define purpose somehow.
Yeah.
You know, which is why I think one of the big things in our relationship that I've reflected back to you is like, what if you didn't have to fix who you are? Like, what if you didn't have to fix these experiences and the trauma and all of this stuff, and you got to serve from that place? Of course, regulating yourself and like healing these different parts of yourself. But what if that were the gift in who you are and how you operate?
And I think that's what's coming fresh right now. Like, that's what this upgrade is all about. That I'm like, this whole time, because I have orchestrated every single thing in my life in order to get to where I am. Like, scientifically, statistically, I am not supposed to be where I'm at, but I have gone into the science, like went through all of that stuff and went, this isn't happening for me. Like, I am not going to repeat these things. I'm going to position myself and orchestrate every single thing around me in order to create the result that I want. Again, preparing for the season that I want to step into. I don't wait in this passive, like, someone invite me thing. I create the invitations and then I ultimately get invited. But in that process, I realized the difference in how I've been doing that is from a space of, yes, deservingness. So like, I know what I am deserving of because it's like this soul desire, but also lack. Like something about me is broken. And, maybe I am too much and maybe all these kind of things. And I'm realizing it's like, I'm just in the wrong arena. Like, yes, I am too much for the guys that I've been dating because they're not entrepreneurs. They're not in sales. They're fucking tech guys or they're fucking engineers. Like, this is too much for people like that. And that's okay. That doesn't mean it's wrong though. Or like for my family or certain friends that I've had to cut out, it's like, yeah, you're going to be too much. And the quote is a quote for a reason. You're going to be too much for the wrong people. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. And I feel like for me, looking at this stuff has been like, oh, because of my drive, because I want to get this stuff done, because of what have you. And it's like, I honestly don't think it's wrong that I love to work so much. I've taken a break, I've done the things, and I've looked at it and I'm like, it just is what God put on my heart. I'm not running from something. Like as soon as I was like, this is just my purpose and I know it's going to happen and I'm going to be unattached to when it happens, that's that surrender versus like, I need to be a millionaire by I'm 30, blah, 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 blah. Like that part, like you're constantly in lack and you constantly think not enough because, oh, then I didn't hit it at 30 and then I didn't hit it at this. And it's like that kind of strive versus like, I know it's going to happen. I'm unattached to it. Can I prepare my life around me so that I already feel abundant? And then everything else, like, it's just like, it'll fucking come. Like, it's just not something I need to like bulldoze towards, but like, I can have drive. And it's not like people have a different, especially my world, I attract all these beautiful feminine women who are like, you need to rest. And I'm like, you need to hurry up. It's like, and I think I've always wondered, like, why am I in these groups? Because I constantly feel like I don't belong. Like, what is going on here? And I'm like, oh, so I can learn from you and you can learn from me.
Yeah.
That's why
The
I'm brought
both
into
and.
exactly. And I'm like, but neither is wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong that I am a highly driven person that has insane amounts of discipline. There's nothing wrong with that. People want that. And so instead of shaming myself for that, I'm like, can I actually just like set up structures, like create things that make me feel safe so then I can soften and then like get this out of my system and go do things and then I can soften. And it's like, you don't have to fully get rid of that savage side of you. You can just add more of the softness in because there's more space to hold it all.
Yeah, because the structure is the container for flow.
Exactly.
You know, it was interesting. I have this idea for a piece of content where it's like, what if like the structure isn't actually a bad thing, because for so long, especially in my relationship, I'd be like, oh, I'm not supposed to be setting the structure because I'm supposed to be in the feminine. When if you look at everybody who's listening to this, go look up your south and your north nodes. It is phenomenal for understanding
She's
your
been on
purpose
one
and
with
what
this.
I've been on one for like 6 months
Yeah.
around this because it was the biggest epiphany. I have a south node in Pisces. My moon is also in Pisces and I have a Cancer sun. We've got a lot of water going on there, right? So Pisces, your south node is what you've done for lifetimes. It is like your bread and butter. You understand it. So that ethereal, like very watery, wise, sometimes avoidant, visionary is what I've done before. My north node is Virgo. So, what I'm moving towards in this lifetime is structure, is organization, is grounded in the physical. So, when you look at your north and your south nodes, it basically paints the picture, and I'm sure there's more intricacies to it. I know the very basic knowledge of this, right? But it paints a picture of where you're going or where you are coming from to where you're going. Your north node is where you're coming from, your south. I flip-flop that. Your south node is where you're moving from and your north node is where you're moving to. So in this lifetime, I'm moving from Pisces and into my Virgo north node. And when I realized that, I was like, holy shoot. So the fact that my brain organizes things and growing up, instead of coloring pretty pictures with all of the Crayola crayons, I would take out each one and organize them by color. And I would draw lines. Lord, do you not know this about me? I would draw lines on a piece of paper. My sister would be drawing these like beautiful flowers. Like she's an incredible artist. And I would draw lines on a piece of paper because I wanted to see the different colors and then organize them based on color. Which is so wild. And my brain has always created systems, like all going through school. Test taking was a system, and like everything was around that. And then you get into this world where it's like, oh no, you're supposed to be more feminine and the masculine is meant to set the structure. So don't do that so much, right? Or like wait for him to set the structure. And I love, that has created a balancing, where I can release the control and I can let other people come in and create the structure. And I am not tied to my structure. Like that, I think was a key shift that needed to happen. But then I went into that feminine side of like, oh, like no structure. And like, I do it when I want. And like my intuition and like all that stuff, which I love. But then I realized for me and my life path, that was me staying in the Pisces realm and avoiding certain things and not actually being in my true power and my gifts of what I'm here to bring. Because I was like, I'm not supposed to be so structured. Let's just do everything on the fly and like whatever. And it's like, no, bitch, like you're so good at structure. You're so good at systems. Me, I'm like, I have a system for everything in my life. And it creates relaxation in my body. It creates space. And systems don't come as natural to Nolan. And so what we've found is he loves when I model how something could be organized so that he learns how to create systems and then he holds it. Right. So if I envision what that system is and then he holds the structure of it and makes sure that it's carried out, that's how we make it work so that I also don't have to hold it at the same time. So it's wild, but just the recognition of like, oh, like this is actually part of the genius. You don't actually have to like move that away.
And it's also the thing that I think with the feminine movement, it's like we are just more organized. Like it's just we can hold so many things happening in our head at once. Like we know what's happening. Like our control gremlins are fabulous. Like we just do. Men are very linear. And I think we're sitting there being like, well, I can't do that because I'm supposed to be feminine and like that's a masculine trait and all this stuff. And I'm like, actually, your fucking brain's dope. Like fucking use that shit and then tell him and then he sees it. And then now you get to be in your feminine because now someone else is controlling it. They just had no idea. And then you can relax. That's why like I'm always like, like your systems and your strategy, as soon as you get a routine down and you know what's happening, you feel so safe.
So
like
sexy.
this is my thing about reoccurring revenue. Instead of fucking launching all the time, focus on having reoccurring revenue. Do you know I can nap now because I know how much money I'm making for the rest of the year? I'm like, instead of being like, oh, I need to hit 30K at this launch, 70K at like the whole spikes because like, man, hustle, hunt. It's like, actually, I don't give a fuck because I'm not launching anymore.
Systems.
Exactly. How is this replicable? Same thing.
Systems.
Same thing with dating. That's how I am with dating. That's why even with this little heart hiccup that's happening, I'm like, I already have a model I can go repeat. Like I'm not that worried about it. That's why anyone like going through things, I'm like, when you have these systems in place, we have different type of systems. You have your Notion boards. Mine are like life things. I'm just like, I mean, yours are life things, but it's like mine's like dating and the fucking household and like different things. I'm like, I have a replicable model for dating. I have a replicable model for launches. I have like things like that where I'm just like rinse and repeat. Therefore, you don't have that like anxious control, wounded masculine energy towards it, which I think is what we're getting mixed up with things and I got mixed up with it where I was like, I can't have these systems. I'm supposed to be more flowy. I should take more naps. I could do things. And I'm like, I don't feel safe enough to. I don't have the reoccurring revenue. If I don't show up, I don't make money. If I don't have something like when it comes to dating and I don't have a replicable model, I'm going to cling on to someone I shouldn't fucking be with because I'm scared that they're going to leave me. Like with my health, like if I have my body look a certain way in one way and then clinging onto that certain routine and I can't eat a French fry, like it's all these different things where it's like, actually, if you just have a system that is very easy to add into your life, that feminine trust and that safety is just like, I can live here and I can breathe and I can trust and I can giggle and I can play and I can be in love and I can have joy and I can be a fucking savage and all of it is okay in this cute little house. And then you give it over to someone because they see the model and they're like, yeah, cool, I'll hold this house in place. Go do your thing. Like, I think that's where we're kind of getting it twisted, where it's like we have to, if I create it like this, then I have to do it like tripping me out.
I love you and your brain.
My ADD.
I love it. Oh, yeah. To me, and one thing I noticed, and this is something that I've always been about, with the systems, and my clients know this through and through, where it's like once you have a system, there's space for deviation from the system. So if you have a system for how you show up consistently online, if you don't do it one day, amazing, you have a flex day. But there is no lack of trust where it's like, oh, I'm gonna like completely fall off. It's like, no, I have a system that holds me in place. So if I'm traveling one day, or if I'm doing something one day, like there's no question of if I'm going to be back on it the next day because the system's already in place. So I do it. I think this is the power of setting up habits within life. And I know for the longest time, I was like, I'm so free flowing. I do what I want, when I want, how it feels. And I love that. And some days I fucking need that. And also having the habit set in place where it's like every day I know what I'm doing. Like I actually have a routine for every single day of the week. I know exactly what I'm doing on those days so that I can take the decision making out of it and just show up and be there. Because when you have to make decisions on what you're going to do and how you're going to be spending your time, guess what? We have a million different fucking ideas about what we could be doing with our time. So then you sit there trying to decide what you're going to do. A, it takes up time. B, you're using your brain, which is taking the energy out of it. Right. And that could actually be used just taking action and doing the thing that's right in front of you. And I think there's that the crunchy. Let's talk about starting habits.
Let's
So
do it.
I think there's a little crunchy bit when it comes to actually starting the habit, And I've been talking about this as like the upper limit with my clients, where it's like you'll think a habit's a really good idea and do it for like 5 days, or like a week and a half, maybe even a month. And then your body starts to be like, how? What are we doing? Right. And wants to like go exactly back to what it was doing before because you start hitting that upper limit. What's your experience with the upper limit?
I literally feel that right now because I was like, I'm just like over drinking. I know it doesn't serve me. I know. And I know every time at the 3-week mark when I get this thing, I'm always like,
Yep.
we should go get a martini later. And then I'm like, Laura, no. Like, not that it's bad. Like, I'm never a no anything because my rebel side will fucking come out. But like, I literally felt that on my walk today. I was like, I feel like taking myself out to like this new restaurant and doing these things and blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, we could go for a drink. And then I was like, I don't actually want one. Like, it's that kind of thing. And so I was actually having this conversation with myself, coaching myself on it, being like, we know this is what we do. It's cute. This is a part of yourself. This is your protector. This is your habit, wanting to break the habit you're trying to now make. And so I think it's just coming to terms with like a lot of us. I was talking to my client about this. I'm like, you just have to know that that's a part of you. It doesn't mean you're falling off track just because you have that thought. It's just your old patterning trying to be like, you sure about this? And you're like, nah. And then sometimes you fall off and that's totally fine, but you don't have to start over. It's just now I do this. Like, okay, cool. I learned if I liked. And the truth is when you start a new habit, going cold turkey or like going gung, you're not going to. None of us do it. It's literally
Trial and error.
You go like I think one of the best examples for me was NA, like AA, like going through the 12 steps. Like no one does it the first time. No one does it the second time. Like it's literally not a like you're gonna go back because it's the habit, and then finally something happens. You're like, I'm sick of going back to this. I'm gonna break it. And I know that's an extreme example, but you see that the brain's going to pull you back. And if you don't have the systems and structures in place and the resources for those types of things, it's like, it's very common and very normal that it's going to be a shift. And then you're going to bounce back and you're going to eventually get to it where it's like, that's just not an identity I have anymore. Like, it's just not something I do. For me, that was a huge one with drinking and partying and raving and like being out till like 4 a.m. Like, that's a really deep one to fucking break, right? Like, that's an actual addiction. And so it's just sitting there and being like, oh, that's that cheeky brain. That's that cheeky brain. Okay, what am I missing in my life? That's going to happen. Like, even right now where I'm like, oh, I want to go do something. I'm like, I just miss romance and I miss going out and I miss like socializing. Oh, go do that. Call a friend. Like, you don't need a drink. You just need to go play. Like, you need to have something fun going on in your life versus like sitting behind your laptop and working all day. Okay, cool. And just getting more curious about why you're getting pulled to fall off and why you're hitting your upper limit versus self-critical, being like, oh, you fucking idiot. Like, you shouldn't want this. It's like, no, you're totally fine. Like, you're allowed to have these little hiccups. And so how quickly can you just get back into alignment with your future 10x self versus the present version that's kind of trying to sneak her way in to feel more comfortable?
Yeah. I think that's the key, is like getting curious,
Mm-hmm.
especially as a high performer. I see this all the time and talk about it with my clients, where it's like, because you're off one day is never a reason to shoot yourself in the foot with self-criticism, because it's just not efficient. Like, let's be honest, it's not efficient. And if your brain works with efficiency, let yourself know it's not an efficient use of your time. And also, like, be kind to yourself in the process. Like, habits only work with kindness. I'm literally reading this book called Indistractable, and he talks about that, where it's like having compassion towards yourself increases your resiliency, right? And what I like to focus on is, what is your comeback rate, your turnaround time for when you fall off, rather than did you fall off, or because you're human. Like, we're all human. Every single time I start a new habit, I know I'm going to mess it up a few times in the beginning. If I don't make a big deal about that, my comeback rate and my turnaround time is so good. But if it's coded, which some things are a little bit coded with like shame or judgment, or I should be doing this, or I should be at this area, it's going to take me longer to turn it back around and have a different comeback rate. Right. And so for me, like, I think what pairs really beautifully with prep season and creating new habits is also having agility, right? Of like being able to like move and shift with where life is taking you, and not make it mean something about you, but literally use it as data of like, oh, interesting. Like, I wanted to have a drink that one day. Okay, what am I actually craving? Like, what am I actually wanting? Oh, that's an interesting data point. Like, let's get curious about it and learn something about ourselves, so that we can create a different, more creative solution, rather than just doing what our brain says we should do and calling it intuition, when really you're just hitting your upper limit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that other side is exploring what is your intuition versus what is that upper limit, and
Mm-hmm.
finding that dance with both.
I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like if you don't, and that's the big journey of self-discovery, is in beginning stages of you shifting from who you were to who you're becoming, you don't have an intuition. Like it really isn't, especially if you've been through things that catapulted that shift of like wanting you to do things. Like you're going to want to go back to the habits that make you comfortable. You're going to want to go back to, the familiarity. That's the normal thing about your nervous system. And a lot of us would be like, but my intuition is calling me to do that. And it's like, I wouldn't necessarily call that your intuition right away. I would
Sometimes. I
sometimes.
will say that a lot of the time, though, there can be that intuitive pull of like, I need to do something radically that's outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah,
That is your intuition. But if it's going backwards of like,
your
let's do
your
that thing we were doing
intuition is
before,
never
that's
going to
not
call
your
you back.
intuition.
Yeah, your intuition is never going to call you backwards. Like
Yeah.
that's your comfort, that's your pattern. And I think that's what a lot of people do, like in seasons of growth. It's like, I should call my ex, I should do this, I should whatever. And it's like, my
I've never
intuition
heard that one.
said, my intuition said, and I'm like, no, it didn't. That's a pattern. Go stick your face in some ice water. Like it's like go interrupt that shit. Like it's not, I think, and we all do it. Like it could be an old launch strategy. It could be the thing that worked in the past. Like a lot of us will do that. At least I hear that with clients. It's like, oh, but this worked in the past. So what if I just did that again? And I was like, you shifted that for a reason. Like there's something bigger that's trying to come through and it scares the tits off of you. Why don't you just actually do
Exactly.
that?
To me, the marker is like when my body is like, oh, so this is new. Like that feeling of like, this is new. And we can't actually see the way forward. And it feels really scary. And it feels like my voice is going to shake. That's more intuitive than, oh, yeah, like this is something I've done before. So I think it's going to work in this sort of way. And like, I just feel this intuitive call to do that. It's like, I would beg to differ in that situation. But that takes trial and error,
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's where it's like I like to play with noticing like what is my intuition versus what is the upper limit. And it comes over time, like for example, the other day, Nolan and I have had this habit where we go to the gym every other day, just like clockwork. We got up and we go. And that's been like a new thing the last couple of months, where it's just very, very routine and we love it. I also noticed that after doing that consistently for a while and seeing my strength increase, now I'm in my late luteal phase, which the girlies know, like this is where our strength starts to decline. And I was like, like I'm really feeling like I need rest. Like I'm just really feeling like I need to like take a day off. Like I'm really craving like a deeper meditation today or yoga or something like that. And Nolan's like, we're going to the gym, we're just getting the body moving. And I was like, okay, we'll just get the body moving. And I go there and I'm lifting weights and I'm like, I'm tired. Like my body and like certain things started to like hurt. And I'm like, oh, so that actually was my intuition rather than my upper limit of like, hey, our body needs to rest, And so now I'm going to have like 4 rest days in a row because that's what my body needs. But I had to play with it because I'm creating a new habit. And I had to see like, is this actually my intuition or is this just me wanting to go back to a different way of like, oh, like, let's just kind of like rest and like screw the structure that we've created and just kind of like quote unquote fall off. It's like, no, like the structure's there, let's play with it and then we can see. And it's all an experiment. It is such an experiment.
What do you feel like right now is something that you're stepping into that your structures are helping you the most with?
Being able to balance it all, like hold it all, and expanding capacity. Because I think something that we've talked about is up until this last year, my life was very selfish. Like it was about me. What apartment do I want? What is my vision for my business? What is my vision for my life moving forward? And since moving to Connecticut, it's been this whole expansion in, okay, what do we want together as a couple? Like, and also what does the house need? And also what does Nolan's business need? And also what does my business need? And what do our bodies individually need? And how do we work together and all of that? And it like wigged me out for a little bit. And now I'm like, no, like I can hold this. I can hold this. Like there is literally no need to freak out about all the different moving parts. Like I'm expanding my capacity to be able to hold so much and see all of them up level at the same time. I used to have this thought that only one thing can happen at a time, where it's like, let's get the body in check and then we'll go full force into business and then we'll organize the wealth and then we'll do all these things. Like actually with systems, we can hold it all. Do I need to hold it all the time? Absolutely not. But like there is space for all of it. So being able to do that from a very grounded, regulated space rather than a neurotic, I'm so fucking overwhelmed sort of space, And I've seen it. Like I've seen every single area of our life start to increase like all at the same time, which is I think really cool.
Yeah.
What about you?
I wouldn't say mine as much of structures because I've always had that, and at least in my adult life, like I feel like mine is more like the prep season vibe of it. Like, what am I preparing for and how am I doing these things? And that's more of my softening side, like the nurturing side. How am I taking care of myself? How am I making space in my schedule to cook nourishing foods? Because I really have been like, I did my breath work and like connected to my future son. And like that really just fucking tripped me up of just what type of model do I want to be to him for who he chooses in his future life. And it's like one of those weird fucking things that like I just have never been the same after that happened. And it's been like I want to turn my house into a home, and like I'm always having candles going now, and like I am making sure that like when the sun goes down, I go down, like as if my partner was here and it's time for me to cook dinner for my entire family. Like I really am preparing that. Or like I was messaging you like on my walk in the morning where I was just like, I'm out taking the kids for a walk. Like I know it sounds fucking delusional, but it's because I have been so survival and so selfish for the last 16 fucking years. I am training myself to make space in my schedule that I will be catering to other people before it comes, because I know if that comes, when that comes, this summer 2024, what's up? My psychic said, I'm thinking it's earlier, but like whatever. When that comes, my nervous system won't be like, oh, where are we going to fit you in? My nervous system is already like, well, I have the mornings where I would like take care of the kids or be with my partner and go to the coffee shop and do whatever. I have my Mondays where it's CEO day, but I'm making sure that I'm finished and everything is scheduled and organized so that the rest of the week, all I have to worry about is catering to my clients and showing up for my programs. Fridays are my play dates so that like I can go and do and travel and be. And then weekends, I do actually really enjoy working on the weekends, but it's not a like must. It's just, I like it. And it's like, and then dinners, I'm practicing cooking and like I'm taking care of my hormonal cycle and I'm making sure that I'm paying attention to these things that like, that's a big reason why I'm not drinking, is like I am really preparing my body for motherhood. And like it's just I'm not letting it be to chance. And I know sometimes that can sound a little bit much, but it's like I already did the fucking healing journey to make sure my traumas and my things that was a pre-housewife era doesn't spill onto my man or doesn't spill onto my kids. Now it's, can I, I'm safe. Now can I soften my edges to then be a safe place? Because the guy that I was with prior to this, that's what he like brought, one of the things he brought to the table, was just like, you say that you want to like kick the kids out at 18 and you want to like do these things and like all this stuff. And he's like, baby, like for the son, yeah, like that's what I want to do. But he's like, for my daughter, like I want her to feel so safe. Like I want her to be protected. And like it just, again, things that people say that will forever change you. I was like, see, like I've been on my own since I was 16 and I've had to provide, protect, and lead myself. I didn't know that was an option. And I'm like, of course, that's the type of household I want. Of course, that's the mother I want my kids to be. So now, how can I work on that and prepare that part of myself versus like the systems and the structures? Because I have that. It's nailed the fuck down. And it's just like, okay, now can I soften? Like, can I just be the type of mother and the type of wife and like really just step into this more, like, because that is my natural, like I have a very big heart. It's just there's so many protectors I have that have been put into place that I am now like, let's breathe a bit, like let's see if we like, I've been trying where I'm like, let's just try not making our bed. And I'm like, I make it 5 minutes every time. I'm like, I can't, like that's one's not for me. And I'm just like,
just not.
I don't know. Like some people try. So I was like, I've just religiously, since I started to get sober, like when I was going through NA, it was just like, I saw the drill sergeant. He was like, if you just make your bed every day, it is, at least you did one good thing. And so I've just always made my bed ever since. And I was like, what if I fuck up this routine? Like what's going to happen? And so I like try and do it. And then I'm like, that's a habit. We're not breaking the house. Can't look like that. Like, no, like it just doesn't make it go.
Especially when you're in a space like yours, like your bed is part of your living space. So
Exactly. I was like, I
that. You can't
can't
just like close the door.
Yeah, but like I'm trying to like just be like, okay, where can we like just soften? Like I'm now safe, and I think, and I do realize like this is a luxury because I now have the consistent income. I don't have to do these things. I know my business front end and back end. I know the people in my life. Like I have replicable models. It took me fucking 6-7 years to get there. Like it did take time of testing and failing and doing the things and being a savage and throwing my life to the wolves to get here. And now it's like, baby girl, we're safe. Like you are safe. You are where you've wanted to be since you were 16 years old. Now what? And can you prepare for that so that you can actually let the walls down when someone comes in and let them take care of you, because now you are taking care of you in a very different non-survival way, but like a very like soft way.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. I feel like it's so interesting witnessing this, because for me, and so many people reflect this back in my life, and I know you have too, like there's a very feminine, like homey, nurturing energy that I will just always naturally have, no matter
the Cancer
how
baby.
much my ego. Exactly. I'm really mushy and I just want to hug people. But no matter how much my ego wants to harden, there is that soft part, and there is that Pisces, moon and south node. And so it's so interesting, as I feel like there's like, I'm seeing both of us in these seasons, and where you're going from the systems into the vision and the softening. For me, it's like the vision, and now how can we create a system around that? Because it's the same outcome. I think one of the biggest things that Nolan has fucking loved so much, and since I've moved from like this selfish season into who do I want to be, and what kind of mom and partner really do I want to be? Because universe, we are not calling in the babies just yet. No,
I am.
Nope.
I am. I send Steph babies every single day. I send her reels every single day of like babies and stuff. She's like, not for me, not for me. And people that are married, she's like, not for me.
My Cancer, but you guys don't understand. Like literally, as like growing up, all I would play with were baby dolls. All I wanted to do was like have a child at age 5. Not like in that way, but like I wanted something to take care of. Like it's my Cancer heart. And so, anyways, but in this season of like, what is the partner that I want to be? Like, I am so blessed to have a man who cooks. I am so blessed to have a man who wants to just fully take care of me, and he is so amazing. But there was part of me that was starting to feel a little bit imbalanced with that, where I'm like, I want to give to him in that way. You know, like I want to show up and make sure that my schedule is cleared on Sundays and Wednesdays typically, and I make dinner. And that's like something that has been so beautiful. It's like I work in time in the morning of like I make our breakfast and I make dinner and he makes dinner a lot as well, but like creating that space to be able to show up in that way. Or I want to take care of my body, I want to track my cycle, I want to be able to like be really in tune. Okay, so let me set up the system and calendar where I can track the entire thing all in one place. I know exactly where I am. I look at my workouts in alignment with my cycle, and it might sound crazy to some people, but it's how I create space for all of these different things, right? Is like, who do I want to be and what is the vision that I have for myself? Okay, now how can we create a structure around that so that it's fucking easy for you, so that you don't have to think about it and open 5 different tabs to figure out what it is that you want. You just know it's there. And it takes time in the beginning to actually set it up, you know, which I think is where most people just won't do it. They won't set up like the calendar system or just like the fucking daily non-negotiables or anything. Like, it takes time to set it up, you
Yeah.
know, and then you do, and you're like, oh, like now I get to just relax and soften because there's space for everything. And I know on Wednesdays I'm going to be cooking dinner, and then, you know, and on Saturdays we have date night, and like everything has its place. And then there's space for spontaneity
Yeah.
inside of that.
Yeah, I think that's like the rigidity. Well, this is my, it's like in the
Yeah,
beginning,
no.
yeah, when you're front loading anything, it sucks. Like no one says building these habits, like building out the systems, sticking to it, like doing, yeah, but like it's now so easy. And like I think one of the best things as well is like when you surround yourself with people that have the life that you want and you see, okay, what do I now have to add into my schedule? Like Steph, she has the life I fucking want, right? Minus the kids. Like it's we really want
I'm gonna
babies.
get a real life baby.
But it's like she has like this man and these things, and we have conversations around what her schedule is and the stress and the things and adding it in. And I've been with her through that journey of like becoming Miss Independent or being Miss Independent to now being, you know, a housewife in the making and like things like that. And so I'm always looking at, and this is also what inspired me, is like I saw you, I saw Whitney, I saw people in our mastermind, they're all thrown off when they have kids, they're all like
Yeah.
all these kind of things, and then we have a house, and then now I'm a partner, and I don't have to be the boss babe, but I also love being the boss babe. So what's this? Like I've been listening for the last years, being in these spaces, seeing my friends going through it and going, okay, I can't predict how it's going to go for me because it's going to be something that's unpredictable, and it's going to be funny
It's
as
gonna be
fuck that
so different.
I know it's gonna be like my husband's gonna be like balls to the walls, and I'm gonna be like structures, like naps, and he's like, nope, you've just been dating the wrong men, and I'm like, you're right. Um,
No,
but
he's gonna love that you rest.
he's gonna love
He's
it. Yeah,
gonna
he's gonna
tell
love
you to
it.
go
He's
take
gonna
a
be like, go
break.
take a nap. But then seeing people like Steph, where I'm like, okay, so how can I start to just play pretend in my life with that now? So that like I have my slow mornings. I go to the beach every single morning to take myself for a walk. I'm not doing self-development. I am just with
Yeah.
God. Like, because I'm not gonna want to do that when I have kids. I'm gonna want to be fully there. And I don't want to feel like how I used to feel, where it's like, oh, I didn't meditate, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, therefore I'm already in lack. I'm like, I don't want to start my mornings
No.
like that anymore, because I know when I have kids, I'm not going to have my morning. And when I have a partner I live with, I'm not going to have my morning like that all the time. So I'm like, okay, let me just disrupt what I think I need in order to feel safe and build out what I actually need to be safe, and then add in the parts that I'm like who I think I want to be, which is that mom that takes her kids to
Yeah.
fucking practice and like has the afternoons to do this and can space between this and still has a rockin' bod and still does this and still speaks on stages. It's like you really do, when you have the systems in place, you realize how much you can fit in a fucking day. Like
Yeah.
when it's
Oh my
there
God,
versus
yeah.
like choice paradox, because the truth is our brain can't, because we are constantly bombarded by choices. It's a choice paradox. We think we want all the choices, you ultimately don't make any choices. You have to make a choice, and then you see how much you get done. Like my friends look at my schedules here and they're like, this, a schedule like this would freak me the fuck out. I was like, it would have 6 months ago, but like now it doesn't bother me. Like
Yeah.
it's just, it's a normal
Everything is
thing.
scheduled.
Everything's scheduled. I don't have to think. It's not something, but like look at the people that are around you and what they're going through. And if you want that, and then start adding that into your life now. Don't
Yeah.
wait for someone to then come in and then you're going to be disrupted and then you'll probably self-sabotage because you're not used to it,
Right.
versus I'm going to be a little bit fucking delusional And I'm going to pretend I'm taking my kids for a walk. I don't have kids. I don't even have a partner. I'm going to take them for a walk this morning.
I used to do that shit envisioning that I was
Yeah.
living when I lived in the middle of Missouri. I tell this story all the time. I would go for walks and envision that the ocean was like just over the trees.
Yeah, like it's right there.
Like it's right. I would literally envision it as I'm walking, but it's so real. It's like closing the gap from where you are to where you desire to be with like a envisioning it as if it's were right in front of you. You know, it's like I remember being in corporate and I would send emails for my boss, imagining I was sending emails for my own business, right? Or like I have clients who are in like beginning stages of their businesses, and I'm like, if you're not owning that you are the CEO of a 6-figure business right now, are you going to be prepared when it actually comes to you? You know, it's like start setting up your day such that if your dream client walks in the door, you are so ready because you're already being that. It's not about the amount of clients you have. It's not about what your physical reality actually looks like. It's about who are you showing up such that you are prepared the moment that it hits you. You're not scrambling to figure out where your feet are because you haven't assumed the identity yet, you know? And be deluded. It's gonna look bonkers to most people.
Well, that's even like the current state. I remember when I called you because it didn't even click in the day that I made the $22,000. And I was just like at the grocery store, and then I was picking up groceries and I was like, wait, this isn't fucking normal. I need to call Steph. Like, this is not a normal thing to be doing. And called her because I almost just like, it felt so normal.
You almost missed it.
And you reflected back. You're like, you have just been in this, like, this is happening for fucking, like, even when we were all worried and thought you'd be homeless, you have just been in it. And of course, still savor it, but like, it's also of course, because eventually, and that's the thing of non-attachment when it comes to actually working towards your goals. It's like when you are truly unattached, like when it's going to come, but you've prepared space for it to come, but you gave up on the timeline of when it's going to come, but you like, I have the foundations in place, I'm doing the things, of course it's only natural that it's going to come. When it comes, you're like, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Full circle.
You know, it's so wild. Oh,
what?
Did we cut out? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Amazing. We had a little blip in the matrix. But what I was saying is it's so wild because now I lost my train of thought.
Anyways.
I felt like this last year for me was really releasing urgency, and all this urgency that I felt since the beginning, especially, you know, starting a business in my early 20s and growing it from that place at a really early age. I felt all of this like urgency to grow it to this point at this point, and like all of these different like miles, just like so much urgency, like get it while you're young, do all this shit, you know, which I love. And also I had to remind myself, like, ever since I started this business, I have known I am in my life's work. That's the beauty of purpose, is like, I'm not going anywhere. I will be speaking on stages when I am 80, mark my words. Like, I'm just in this for life. I'm a teacher for life. I'm going to be doing the work on myself for life. And if I get to share it with other people, amazing.
Catch us in 2024, guys. Psst, something's coming in 2024.
Something's happening. Thanks. A little sprinkle. But for me, it was releasing that urgency and being like, whoa, dude, like you're going to be in this till you're 80. So how do you want to do it? Do you really want to do it like urgently in survival? Or do you want to do it like relaxed? And you saw me through this where I was like, I'm just so relaxed.
She's just outside FaceTiming me in the sun as I'm like sweating over my computer. And she's like, it felt like it.
Like, I just don't need to do anything, which I needed for my nervous system to recalibrate, to see beyond the survival, to see beyond my Miss Independent self, and to really look at like, what do I want for my life? Not just like, what do I need right now to satisfy all this stuff? And now it's like, okay, so we're going to be in this till we're 80, but how do you want to prepare for what's coming right now? You know, prepare as if it were coming tomorrow. You know, even if there is no urgency, how could you prepare your life just for the sake of preparing your life? You know, and I had a client give this incredible example where she's a rock climber and she just goes to the gym. It's her hobby. We love hobbies, 2024 hobbies. We were talking about hobbies before this podcast. It's her hobby. She loves it. And I'm like, what do you love about it? She's like, I love that feeling of like getting to the top of a new route and being like, hot damn, I just did that. Like, I just did that one thing. And then she's like, And then I love that, you know, a few weeks later, the things that used to be the hardest routes for me then become my warm-ups. And I'm like, okay, so did you have to put any pressure on yourself to be able to get to that point? She said, no, I just showed up. I just started training and looking at the exact routes that I wanted to do and started working my way up to that place. I said, okay, so what's different in your business? Right? Typically, the thing that's different is like the pressure we put on ourselves. But in actuality, if you start showing up and preparing as if it were happening tomorrow and show up for the fun of the fucking game, like for the fun of like at some point you're going to be doing something, you're going to have a launch where it exceeds what you could ever imagine. And your base month is going to be the thing that you used to dream of, you know, at some point that is going to happen. And that's what is so cool about it, you know, and that's what's so fun because you did the work to get to that place, you know, so like releasing the long-term urgency, being in it until we're 80, but then also like, all right, let's go.
It's playing
Let's
with
have
it. It's
spicy
all
fun.
it's the thing where it's like I think you prepare for it and then you remember everything is an experiment. Like every single thing is an experiment. You
All of
cannot
it.
fail because you're just constantly learning. You're like, oh, that didn't fucking work. That relationship didn't fucking work. The way that I communicated that didn't fucking work. Okay, what am I doing now? That doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means that was a failed experiment. It doesn't mean like you're a failure. It means now we make a move to do something better next time because this
Yes,
is
and not make it personal.
it's not it's a long fucking game, y'all. Like this life, it's short and long all at one time, and it goes how long can you stay in the arena, right? Versus like I need to get this, and if I don't get this by the time I'm 30, fuck it. It's like I'm like why? Like that's not a purpose
Matcha.
driven life. Like it's like one of, at least for me, like what I'm navigating, it's like if I truly know, which I do truly know, I am meant for an extraordinary love that I will be celebrating my 50th anniversaries. Like it's going to be this long-term thing. It's like, what if today is the last day that I'm single and I meet him out for a walk tomorrow? And what if it's these kind of things? It's just like, there is no urgency if you truly know it's coming. It's savoring the fact that this is the position you're in right now, knowing there's only more to come. And then releasing the attachment to how that is or when that is. It's just, you know it. So why not just become the version that's ready for that instead of waiting to be invited to it, because then it's never going to come. But become that version and then just be like, how fun can I fucking make this?
Yeah, set the identity of like who you're being. I
Yeah.
think it's so fun. It's so fun to play with so many different identities in
We were
life.
just talking about this, about clothing, before jumping on this call. As we're shopping for jeans, we're like, we should go record.
Well, it's y'all, I've been a stan for Newly. I don't have
Truly.
any Newly. I'm not affiliated whatsoever. I have zero link. Maybe I could get a link.
I
Anyways.
think you should get a link.
I talk about it all the time because it's been so fun for this phase of like experimenting with different identities through clothing, of like, how do I want to show up? Newly is a subscription service for those of you who don't know, where you pay every month and then you get to pick out different clothes. It's like Rent the Runway. And it's been so fun to play with these different identities, but really in creating these systems for me, it's like, okay, so what is the identity of the person who is prepared for this? Like, what is the identity of the person who is the millionaire business owner? What is the identity of the person who is, you know, the mom or like the relaxed mom or whatever it might be? It's like, who is that identity? And start assuming that right now through your clothes, through how you show up, through your habits, through your life. It might look delusional, but you start to close the gap from where you are to where you desire to be, which is fun. That's a fun thing.
It's also so fun when you actually get it too. Like, but
Yeah.
you're always going to be on it's the hungry ghost journey of a high achiever mind. Like, even right now, it's like, I literally have been praying for this life that I have right now for so long. And then it's like, oh my God, it fucking worked, yo. Like, definitely not on my fucking timeline. I thought it was going to be like 2 months. It's been 6 years. It's been 3 years. This is the second business, but it was 3 years. It took a little bit longer because there were life lessons. But it's like, and now you're sitting here and you're like, now what? Now what can be possible next? And then it's just like a fucking game. And it's just because you don't have it yet, it's just like, let me play this fucking game. Exactly.
And you can
like,
actually start to taste it when you show up as that version. I think the big thing that I typically talk about with this is like a lot of people keep it at arm's distance by not changing anything in their life.
Yeah.
They'll say they want all these things and set the vision and then be like, that'll happen. Like, it'll just
Yeah.
happen. The it'll happen mentality, without actually then bringing it into your life and saying, well, A, how does my life already match up to this? Because there are likely elements of your life that are very similar that you don't even recognize. And if you can amplify your gratitude for those, oh, it's going to be so fun and so juicy. But B, then start shifting things in your life, starting with your identity and then into your habits of like, how you actually can start embodying that right now so that it feels like it's real even before it's ever happened. You've got to make it feel real in your body.
Exactly. This is the biggest thing I see with people, honestly. It's this like, I know I could be doing more, or this immaturity that a lot of us feel like I can't be a six-figure business owner. I can't fucking have that type of relationship. I can't have whatever because of my maturity level. And it's like, then become the woman who, like, you have to then get your ass in certain arenas and completely demolish whatever ego is keeping you protected, heal the traumas that keep you protected in that mindset, so that then you can assimilate this new identity, be true, because people can fucking smell it. If you're looking for higher ticket clients, you're looking for higher men, you're looking for whatever, they can smell when it's fake and you're just like in that thing. It has to be this true, like, I am this behind closed doors. I do these things. Like, I do take myself here. I do dress this way. I do these things. And you're going to feel fake at first because it's not normal. But the more you do it versus waiting for someone to invite you to it, thinking they're going to pull you up and like let their hand down and get in the, like, they're not going to do that. You have to make it so that you are the person that, like, you are the value to whatever that person would be, which means your life has to be something that is of value and you have to be embodied in those things. Therefore, when those people meet you, they're like, you're embodied in this, you're a value add to my life, therefore I want to continue to do life with you. And that's not something, if you're still stuck in this like immaturity realm, which a lot of people are, you have to somehow break that matrix. Yeah, it's just like break that matrix. I'm a little chicken nugget. And like we had that season, and then you're just like, and I'm over being a fucking chicken nugget. I want to be a leader. I want to be embodied. I want to be alpha. Like, let's fucking go. And it's like, so do you have to, like, for me, like the new season I'm stepping into, I'm like, I'm getting a new wardrobe. I'm getting my lips done just because I'm curious how it feels. I'm like, I'm gonna grow the best ass. And I'm like, I just fucking want to. Like, I don't know if it's gonna do anything, but it's like, just because I'm already purchasing those things, now I have a new identity. And I'm like, dope. Now what?
Yeah. So fun. And hot damn, what was the thing that came to my mind that was going to be so fun to bring and I forgot it. That's what's happening.
We love a projector.
Hot diggity dog. Yeah, all of the wonderful things.
Step into the arena.
Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Sometimes, I'm curious if you've experienced this, I see it all the time, where you will be stepping into this new identity. God will give you a breadcrumb. It will be so close. Lord, Patricia Martin, saw this in you. Like, but we all have this, no matter what your goal is, if it's in relationships, if it's in business, if it's in your career, if it's just how you're treating yourself in your life, you are going to have one nugget, maybe a couple, where you're like, oh my God, it's here. And then something's going to happen, whether you sabotage it, whether there's a life experience that happens, it really doesn't matter where it's going to go. Right? And typically what people do is they shoot themselves in the foot and they say, this means that I am wrong. This means that I am not doing something right. This means that I'm incapable of it. That is not the point. It's not the point. The point is that you have the feeling of in your body of what it could be. That experience in and of itself up levels you. And now it's prep season. Now it's prep season. Start preparing and actually up-leveling those habits, because God needs to give you a little bit more time to integrate exactly what you need in order to be able to hold it. You got a taste of it. Now it's time to prep to be able to hold it and expand it moving forward. So just want to let you know that that also happens.
Yeah, and that literally just happened to me. And then for a little bit, I was like, oh, I did these kind of things. And stuff's like, stop blaming yourself. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, no, that was just a thing. I need to play bigger.
Bigger mode activated.
You're down here.
I'm up here.
I'm up here. I'm sorry, but that does happen. It's like, here's a little taste. Are you actually ready? And sometimes you're going to be ready, and sometimes you're going to need to still learn a little bit lessons. Like in my case, I needed to learn a little bit of lessons. Not that I self-sabotage it, but there's parts. And then it was just like this thing where it was like, you were almost willing to settle, weren't you? And it's like, yeah, I fucking was. And then all of a sudden, this other little stallion comes through, and I was like, wait a chicken nugget second, that feels more like home than that. Okay, let's go. Okay, so how do I become a match to that now? And it's just like, what if you just actually weren't going big enough? And that's what that test was. And then you get to assimilate that identity. Again, going back to the too muchness. It's like you will never be enough. You will never be too much for the right people. So if you're going through these things where it's like, oh, maybe I fucked this up or whatever, it's like, what if you just kind of rework that in your brain of like, maybe it was just an invitation to a part of you that you didn't know existed, and now you get to level up in a certain way and do it bigger.
Yes, because there are already people who see you as the identity that you are thinking that you need to step into. I think that's the wildest thing is like we'll never know. We'll never know what it looks like to watch ourselves walk into a room. This is why
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, but also why like our friendship has been so valuable because we're constantly just reflecting back to each other our power, right? Of like, hey, this is what I see within you, or like, and there are people, whether it's people in your audience, whether it is men out on the street, or whether it's just people that you meet who already see you as the thing that you desire to become. They're just waiting on you to actually become it, And so all of this like falseness around you feeling like a fraud or feeling like a chicken nugget, feeling immature, it's like all it's taking is like you really feeling into your power and assuming the identity and saying, you know what? Sometimes I'm going to wobble like a cute little baby giraffe, but there are literally already people that see me as that and they're waiting for me. So I'm going to go. I'm going to do it. That's the thing.
I love it. Oh, this was a good one. I'm proud of us.
It's been a good one.
High five. I'm proud of us.
I feel like we just got started around like the 45-minute mark.
This is good.
Stay tuned for more coming in 2024. We're going to be mysterious about it for a hot second because we're marinating on certain things. But
are we? Oh. Yeah, something's coming. Stay tuned. Your flip.
If you
know what?
You know what I want to
hear? You know what I want to hear? What could people do? What do you suggest people do after listening to this episode? Give them some tangible tools. Give them some structure, baby.
Listen to my prep season series.
Yes.
That I'm actually putting out on my podcast. I say that jokingly, but I also say that very
seriously.
I walk you through the tangible steps for prep season, from reflection to setting your vision, assuming the identity, and then actually setting up the system structures and habits in your life to actually make this into a reality and like getting out the nitty gritty. However, I think, the big thing is like, who do you want to be? And then what are the habits that you need to start putting in place in your life to start assuming that every single day, And so my brain is now buzzing with so many different ideas of where to take this, but something so simple as like going in on Sunday and creating a vision for like, who is the version of yourself that you desire to step into this week? Okay, awesome. Now, how can your schedule reflect that? And actually spending time, the first couple times I did this, it took me like an hour and a half, 2 hours to actually do it because it was new. And I didn't know. I was like, oh, well, I want to be the person who goes to yoga. And that sounds amazing. Okay, awesome. So now let's look up a yoga class. Like, what day is it going to work? Let's put it in the calendar. Like, let's schedule these things out. One thing Nolan and I wanted is like, we want to bring hobbies into our life. Okay, amazing. We looked up, we're going to salsa now. So Fridays and Saturdays, mostly Saturdays, we go to salsa and it's scheduled. Like we get together on Sundays and we talk through our entire calendar, And so I think it's such a simple way, and you don't have to start by scheduling every single day, but starting to look at like, how do I want to step into this week? And then how can my life actually tangibly reflect that, even if it's in just a small way?
I love that. Also, I say go to the wall. Schedule every day. Don't let her schedule every day. Go hard.
In the beginning, I had to schedule it before I knew what my weekly calendar was going to look like. I had to schedule every day. So like
in the morning, you're like, here's what I'm doing.
Yeah, like at 9 a.m. once I did my morning routine, then I would schedule out the day until I started to really recognize like the repeatable systems and things and like where things go. And now I can schedule every week. So I think there is sometimes a benefit to starting small.
Yeah. Can't relate, but yeah.
Balls to the wall.
I just had to throw my savage side in there, being like, just who says? Just do it the whole week on a Sunday.
So at our event, Laura's
Exactly.
gonna be
I'll be the savage. And you can go
get your
cry.
ass into shape, and then I will
Honest,
hug you and let you know it's okay to listen to your body.
I said this in my mastermind where I was like, guys, I'm not normally like this, but like it's the identity I assimilate when I'm coaching. And I was like, I even got a whip. Like I bought a dominatrix outfit that one time for boot camp, remember? And I was like, I returned the dominatrix outfit, but I kept a whip. And I was like, I just feel like your daddy sometimes, you know? And they're all like, that's honestly true. I was like, I think that I know that's why people hire me. Like they need a kick in their ass. And so I was like, that's me. I'm not honestly always like this. We're working on it. I don't know. I'm starting to learn that I don't have to say sorry about it anymore. I'm like, this is just who I fucking am.
But it's helpful, right? Because it's like we recognize that's how we both work. Like I love when people are direct with me. My clients love when I'm direct with them. Like it's a really incredible thing. But then having the soft side of like also recognizing that there are a million different perspectives that are all happening at once, and sometimes you need softness.
I also do it because I love the people around me. Where I'm like, I think with women specifically, there's a big block. Men talk like that because they're like they keep each other accountable to such a high degree. It's like you said, you do better, do fucking better. And me and Marina have had, who's my best friend, we did an entire podcast episode on this where it was around this like female friendships. We're like, oh, we don't want to be ostracized, we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, blah blah blah. You can start on Monday. And then nothing gets fucking done. And then you have the self-saboteur inside of you that's being like, I could have done better and I'm not doing better. Like, why am I not doing this? Versus like me, where I'm like, you said you'd do better. Like, do better. This is what you said you would do. Get into alignment with it. Do these kind of things. Because that's honestly the conversations I have inside my head. And that's the conversations I have with my friendships. So I'm like, I think that really helps. Anyways, it has nothing to do with this podcast. My homework for you guys. I'm up here. Just kidding. They have no idea. Be intense. Don't take rest days. Just kidding. Rest. Regulate your nervous system. I swear, Laura, I work in trauma.
I am gonna turn your microphone off.
I work in trauma. This is all a joke. I'm just playing with you. Go listen to Steph's prep season. It's my homework for you too. She's really good.
I love you.
It is. It's a good one. Go watch. Go. Not that I've listened to it yet because it's not out yet. But when this airs, but yeah, go do that. I'm discombobulated right now.
You look all hot and bothered.
I know. I'm like, they just saw a side of me. Honestly, it's a side my clients already know this side of me, so I'm fine. It's like your audience. I'm like, I swear.
We get to be all things. We get to be all things. It's okay.
I'm soft and cute sometimes. I was just soft and cute yesterday, so
you get to be savage and soft, and I think that like just of all of this is every single side of you is welcome. And
that's so funny that I wrote savage and soft. That's what my like brand is. I wrote that yesterday.
I love that.
Aw. Rambling. Okay.
Every side of you is welcome. Bring it all. And typically the things that you want to fix in yourself are probably the keys to your purpose and who you actually are. All right, my loves, that is a podcast episode that we have for you today. I hope that something has landed with you. Maybe it made you laugh, it made you cry, or overall just impacted your day just a little bit. And we can't wait to see you on the next Unplugged episode that we have every single month on this podcast. And if something has landed with you today, you know what means the absolute world to us is if you would take 5 seconds of your time and go ahead and write a review saying that you listened to Unplugged and letting us know what your favorite part of it was, whether it was our dynamic, something we talked about, et cetera, et cetera. And if you do, on both my podcast and her podcast at Healing to Happy, we will link it in the show notes as well. We are doing something absolutely bonkers. Laura and I are going to gift you a double whammy session where you're going to have both of us with you for 30 minutes of your life to get to go into whatever it is that you desire around business, purpose, relationships, systems, all of that good stuff. We are so here for you. Or honestly, if you just want to laugh your ass off, we are there for it as well. So that absolutely means the world to us. It allows us to get this message out to even more people and really create even more joy and purpose in this world. So I hope you all have a phenomenal rest of your day, and I will see you on the next podcast episode. Mwah!